What is up, people? It is me, Monster58, and welcome back to another video review. Today we are going to be taking a look at the Transformers Studio series, Transformers 1, Voyager class Sentinel Prime, the self-proclaimed, ruler of Cybertron, the guy who ended up, feigning his actual, good-natured deeds into actually being the one true villain of the Transformers 1 movie. Now, just like I said in my Transformers 1 Bumblebee, the Deluxe Class Bumblebee review, last review, if you would like to see my thoughts on just the movie alone, I'll provide a link in the description to that review of the movie. There's a spoiler section and a non-spoiler section, so for those of you who are thinking about seeing the movie, you won't have to worry about any spoilers in that part of the review if you do not wish to see spoilers, or if you just want to see what my thoughts are if you have already seen it. Link in the description, like I said. But taking a look at the box here for Sentinel Prime, we have Transformers here, Studio Series Transformers 1, got the Sentinel Prime title right there, got some very nice artwork there of Sentinel Prime, both in his robot mode as well as in his vehicle mode, transforms in 17 steps. You got the Transformers Studio Series, you can see the Voyager class right there on the bottom. On this side, you do have some more nice artwork of him, Sentinel Prime, Transformers Studio Series, Transformers 1, and then your obligatory product shots, along with a very nice screen cap of Sentinel Prime from the movie. Looks really, really good in these screen caps. Maybe not as gold as they look in the screen caps, but otherwise, I think with the box, Hasbro kills it. And so without further ado, alrighty, folks, here we have the Transformers Studio Series Transformers 1 Voyager Class Sentinel Prime out of the box and in his vehicle mode. That I gotta say, this is a pretty damn good jet mode. It's a Cybertronian jet, and overall, I think they did a fantastic job of not only giving us a Cybertronian jet, but also essentially giving us a jet vehicle form. So when it comes to this, it does look really solid from the side. Sure, this looks a bit blocky, but overall, when you're looking at this, this is a pretty solid jet mode overall. And the only complaint I would really have, there's a couple. So this is his shield, and this doesn't like to peg in quite very well. So you have like a peg hole right there, and then you have a peg right there. But for some reason, this doesn't like to peg in very correctly. But it does look nice. You can see the detail is pretty good all around. Like nothing too crazy, but just enough to get it across. And it's pretty accurate how it appeared in the film. So we're going to set that off to the side here. But it just doesn't like to peg in there very well. I don't know if that's a QC issue or if other people have had that issue too. But just for me, it doesn't like to peg in there. Even when you take these little winglets and then you push them down, then plug it in, then push these up, it still doesn't like to get in there very well. But taking a look at the details here, you can see the cockpit looks pretty good. The gold paint's really nice there for the cockpit and the window there. You can see some nice molded detail throughout the blue. I really do like the blue as well. Very accurate how it was. Nice detail here. You can see some guns here on the side. The only other issue I'd say I have with the jet mode as a whole is it doesn't have any landing gear, and that's mainly because the head is sitting right here at the tip of the nose cone. So it does suck a bit, but overall still pretty good. So it just sits on the paint. It's whatever. What are you going to do? More nice detail here. Nice detail throughout the wings. Nice blue stripe right here as well. That looks good. Nice gun right here, seemingly so, or just a tube of some sort. A nice molded detail. You can see the boosters right here. Those look nice as well. Very nicely molded. You can see the nice detail in those. Can't really complain. Like overall, even from the side for a jet mode, this is pretty damn good. Now these are also removable. These are also accessories. They plug in here, so you can see that they have little rivets right here, and then they have little peg holes right there. So all you got to do is peg those in like that. So I'm just gonna leave it like this for the time being, though, because it does look good with them on, as that is how they are intended. And so overall, vehicle mode, really solid. Not insanely perfect, because obviously there's still a bit of blockiness, and you can see some of the robot parts as well. But overall, really, really solid jet mode. Can't complain too much. So, as per usual, we are going to be doing our size comparison. So we are going to set Sentinel Prime off to the side here. Alright, folks, here he is with the Transformers Legacy United Deluxe Class Infernac Universe Magnus. As per usual, as you can see, though, that the Voyager class size does have a significant difference here. It's not that much longer, but you can definitely feel it in the girthiness, see it in the girthiness, as well as just the weight of this figure. It is significantly more than Magnus here. But overall, when it comes to a Voyager size, this guy fits the bill pretty well. I have nothing really to complain about when it comes to that. And you also see a lot of the Voyager class price point, especially when it comes to a third mode that this guy has, which is really, really cool. Alrighty, folks, here he is with the Transformers Studio Series Transformers 1 Deluxe Class B127, otherwise known as Bumblebee. As you can see, when it comes to the size here, they're pretty well sized, obviously Deluxe versus Voyager, but again, these two are very nice quality, very good quality overall, but the size works. Sentinel Prime should be bigger than Bumblebee in his vehicle form and in his robot form, and both are true here, and it is a significant size difference to where this would make sense to see him as a Voyager versus a Deluxe. Now here's where the size gets a little more interesting. Here he is with the Transformers 1 Deluxe Class Optimus Prime. As you can see, these two are pretty well scaled with one another. Sure, Sentinel Prime is still a fair bit bigger, but you'll see in the robot modes they are much closer than you would expect, but that is just because that they should be relatively close to one another in terms of their size in their vehicle modes, in their robot modes, just due to the fact that, well, they end up fighting Sentinel Prime, and they're not too far off in terms of the size overall. So, although that in the beginning of the movie they certainly were a fair bit smaller than Sentinel, at the end of the day, once you start to get them into their, these modes here with this and Megatron, then they end up becoming, it makes more sense when you see it in robot mode, and see it through that lens. Alrighty, folks, and here he is with Megatron. And so when it comes to Megatron, obviously his Executioner in the movie, spoilers, I apologize for that if you haven't seen it, but yes, his Executioner in the movie is Megatron. As you can see, when it comes to their size, again, very similar to Optimus. It's one of those cases where they aren't too much different in terms of their size, but you can definitely feel the weight in Sentinel over Megatron or Optimus. But in their robot modes, they're relatively close in size. Sure, Sentinel is still a bit bigger in his robot mode, which he should be, but they're still pretty close in size. And so despite the fact that, Bumblebee, Optimus, Elita, and Megatron are all deluxes, there's a nice size variation between them, but that doesn't reduce any of their quality, in my opinion. And funnily enough, I actually think the worst figure out of all of them is Optimus, and that's wild to say, but I genuinely think he is. But overall, when it comes to the sizing in their vehicle modes, I have nothing too bad to complain about here when you see him with Megatron as well. Alrighty, folks, and it's time to get into the transformation, which really isn't all that bad. It's actually pretty simple, given that he is a Voyager class, but you'll see where some of this budget goes into. So, first things first, I like to take these two little guns, and we can set them off to the side here. Then what I like to do is you come here, and you're going to come and disconnect sort of the wings like this, and then you can take this section, pull the legs down, or what will become the legs, and then accordion this up. And then what you're going to do is you see this big joint right here. You're just going to accordion this like so, and I already accidentally did the nose cone, but what you're going to want to do is press this down like so, and then you'll see that there's a tab right there, and then there's a hole at top of the cockpit. So what you're going to want to do is accordion this back, and then pull it down on another joint when you get to here, and then this will just peg in very nicely, and then you can see his head is already right there. So from here, we're going to zoom out a little bit just so we can get some extra room. So let me push this a bit up like so. So at the top here, what we're going to do is you can see we're going to rotate his head all the way around, and then we are going to take these, and you can see these little rivets right here. There's some joints in there, or some pegs in there that these will all peg into. So you're just going to want to peg that in. Same thing here. Peg that right in. And then here to the legs. Very simple. Split them apart. Rotate them here like so. Now, what the instructions tell you to do is to take these, flip them up, fold the boosters in, and then fold them all the way back down. But sometimes he doesn't like to stand up very well, so what I like to do is to pull these out like this to act as better heels. So, again, you're supposed to do this, fold this out, rotate the booster into his heel, and then fold that in so that this all fills in. But again, what I like to do is extend that out just a bit, just to give him some extra leg clearance. And then from here, what we can do with the wings is we're going to come here to the wings. You're going to disconnect right here. Rotate this up and then disconnect there, and then rotate this all the way up like so, and then peg that in like this. And then what you're going to see here on the wing is there is a little hole right there, and then there's that little peg right there, and you can see that'll just slot very nicely into place right there. And then you can angle these however you wish. I'm going to angle it like that. So again, you can disconnect this, rotate this all the way up, do that, and then you can just peg that right in, and then I like to angle it like so. Then what you can do, come here to the back, and then you can fold these down as well, these little winglets, accordion those out, and then to finally finish the transformation, just push these up. And ladies and gentlemen, here we have the Transformers Studio Series Transformers 1 Voyager Class Sentinel Prime in his brilliant looking robot mode. And so when it comes to the looks of this guy is pretty much spot on. I mean, when we're looking at the actual animation model of this guy, like, this couldn't be more accurate if they tried, in my opinion. Like, it is absolutely wonderful how accurate they were able to get this guy when it comes to his robot mode. And so taking a look at the details here, you can see the head sculpt is very, very well done. That very nice, very blank expression, the nice blue eyes, the silver for the head crest as well as the silver for the face. A little bit of gold in there is also really, really nice too. You can see the gold there on the side as well. Very, very cool. Coming down here to the chest, very nice detail. Some nice gold trim there on the chest. Nice yellow, nice other molded in detail. Silver right there. You can see some more silver there. Nice on the shoulders as well. You can see all that nice detail as well. Coming down here, the nice darker gray to help break everything up. Then you have the nice blue molded in detail there. Coming down here to the crotch piece, you can see some nice gold as well. And you can see the nice gold in the knee pads contrasted by the dark gray. This nice light blue here to help break up all this blue. More nice molded in detail. I mean, all around really cool, nice yellow molded in detail. And when you look around in the back, sure, he does have a bit of a backpack, but it's nothing too obtrusive. It's nothing that we wouldn't expect from most jet transformers where their wings are on their back. And so this isn't anything crazy or new or anything too obtrusive. I mean, we even saw it. I think a figure we can definitely compare it to would be like the Leader Class Legacy not Blitzwing, Leader Class Legacy Skyquake, as well as Dreadwing. Those guys had very similar backpacks in my opinion. So overall, when it comes to the backpack here, like, sure, it is a bit big and obtrusive, but it's also very accurate to how it was in the movie. And it gives him that really, intimidating, very wide, very tall look. And so overall, when it comes to the robot mode of Sentinel Prime, I think they absolutely nail it with the details, with everything like that, with the paint, the proportions. I think he looks exactly how he did on film. Now, get into the accessories. So like I said, here's his shield. So what you can do with the shield is you have a little peg right there, and then you have that peg hole, so you can obviously peg that in like so. Now for each of these individual guns, you can just hold them like this, but I think that looks kind of weird. So what I like to do is just attach them both. So on the other side, you can just attach the other one as well, because he has enough room in his hand to fit both of these guns. So I just do that, and then you get something like this, and that's pretty damn cool. Like, I think this looks cool. You have his shield, then you have his little gun there. I think this is pretty awesome. So overall, when it comes to the accessories, although they're not super expansive or anything like that, or super like show-offy, super like out there, they're exactly what he needs, and they're pretty well done, nicely detailed, decently painted. Like, and you'll see the other part where they could have put accessories in, they gave this guy a whole nother mode, and we'll get into that in a second here. But as per usual, and now that he's in his robot mode, we've gone over the detail, we've gone over the paint, gone over the accessories. It's time to do our size comparison. So we're going to set this guy off to the side here. Alrighty folks, here he is with the Transformers Legacy United Deluxe Class Infernac Universe Magnus. As you can see, they're pretty well scaled. Obviously, being an average size Deluxe, Magnus will be smaller than Sentinel, but this really works out. Have no complaints here. Alright, here he is with the Transformers Studio Series Deluxe Class B-127, otherwise known as Bumblebee. You can see here, these two scale together very well, Bumblebee being the smallest of all of the main characters of the cast. Bumblebee ends up working out here. It was to a point where Sentinel very much looked down at Bumblebee, even though there was scenes where he was clearly captured and kneeling down and everything like that. It's very clear that Sentinel, being bigger than Optimus and Megatron, so it also stand to be much bigger than Bumblebee as well. And so this works out here. Alrighty folks, here he is with the Transformers Studio Series Transformers 1 Deluxe Class Optimus Prime. As you can see, when it comes to their sizing here, sure, you may be questioning why are they so close in size despite them being an entire size class, between one another. Well, like I said, it's really in the feel, the weight, the also engineering, in addition to the extra mode that Sentinel gets, not necessarily the size. He's still a pretty solid Voyager class size. He is a bit smaller than maybe your average Voyager, but overall, he's not too bad. And so when it comes to the accuracy too of their on-screen size, this is about right. Sentinel is a bit bigger than both Optimus and Megatron, and that is shown here as well. And so overall, even though he is a Voyager, you might be questioning Deluxe versus Voyager here. At the end of the day, I think he is still worth that Voyager class price point. And here he is with Megs. So here he is with Megatron, and so when it comes to their sizing, just like Optimus, despite him being a Deluxe, they're relatively close in size with one another. Sentinel still being a little bit bigger, a little bit wider. Overall, still feels a little bit weightier. Pretty good size between these two. Megatron, being the size he is, you can very much see him picking up Sentinel and ripping him in half like he did in the movie in terms of their size here. So, nothing to complain about, really. Alrighty, folks, and the next thing we're going to do is show his third mode. So this is very similar and akin to Optimus Prime Super or Galaxy mode from the Transformers Cybertron series in the Unicron trilogy. And so to do that, what we're going to do here is we're going to remove everything for the time being. We're going to move the accessories, but we're actually going to transform them. So you can see there's two little pegs here. What you're going to want to do is peg in both of those guns onto the shield like so, and then you can just set this off to the side for the time being. First thing I like to do is to take the fists, and then you can slide them down like so. And then what we're going to want to do here too is you're going to flip this down, and this is a little bit of pain, but basically you have his face mask, and then you just have to do your best to, like that, there you go, you have to push against that bit. And then you can flip that up, fold the chest back in, and then here on the bottom, or here on the shoulders, you're going to flip the shoulders up, you're going to rotate these guns out, and then pop them back down. Same thing here. Rotate this around, pop that back down like that. And then for the legs, you're going to take these yellow sections, you're going to fold them out, and then you'll see these little guns here. You're going to fold these blue ones out as well. You're going to fold that there. Do the same thing here. You're going to fold out the yellow, fold out the blue guns, and then just rotate that. Land that back there. Then for the feet, what you're going to want to do is take these, fold out the boosters like so on the bottoms of the feet. Then you want to fold the toes down like this, and that is really about it. Ladies and gentlemen, here we have Sentinel Prime in his like super mode. And then what you can do here is just attach this to his shoulder his forearm as he did before. And yeah, overall when it comes to the actual like looks of this guy, it looks pretty cool. Although it looks a bit funky and would look way better if I had a flight stand, it looks really, really cool. The fact that they implemented this is part of where that Voyager budget went into, and this is why I say he feels weighty. In addition to that, this is why I also said that despite the accessories being very sort of juvenile, very primitive, you know, it's a shield and a couple of guns that really aren't like super flashy or anything like that. This is where a lot of that budget went into. Sure, they could have given him more accessories, but they gave him exactly what he needed, and they gave him his little super mode here. So overall, really, really cool. Can't really complain too much. Next thing to do is to get him back into his regular mode. So all you gotta do is flip these back, flip those down. I'm gonna do this, flip the face mask back down like so. We're gonna remove the shield. I'm gonna push the arms back up. Then we're just going to fold these on the feet down like so. Fold those, take these, fold the blue guns in, and then just fold those back in. And then you are very easily back in his regular robot mode, which is really, really nice. Now, we're also going to do our articulation here as well, since we're sort of in the thick of it. So for his articulation, it's really solid. It's really good. So what's cool, despite the fact that there's a face mask gimmick, you can look down and you can even look up. Like, the fact that he can look up, sure, this looks like a weird growth or like an Adam's apple or something like that, but it looks cool. I mean, but it's fine. You can get some nice articulation there. The wings also go back and forth. They also have this hinge joint here, so you can transform them or move them like that. And so arms will do full 360, but you need to move the wings out of the way. You have movement here as well. There's no movement in the shoulder gear though, which kind of sucks. 90 at the elbow, then you have rotation at the upper part of the elbow as well. No wrist articulation though, which is a bit of a shame. You do have full waist though, which is always really, really nice. And then you do have forward kick, backward kick, 90 at the knee, rotation here, and then you do have ankle rockers. So you can actually get some really wide poses at this guy because of that nice ankle rocker joint. So overall, when it comes to the articulation for this guy, it's pretty cool and pretty like unexpected, specifically in the head, like being able to look up like that. Sure, like I said, it looks weird because it looks like he has a really thick Adam's apple, but overall looks pretty solid. Can't really complain with the I mean, it's pretty solid. Can't complain about the articulation too much. Sure, the legs might be a little bit chunky, but nothing that inhibits movement too badly. Alrighty folks, and it's time to get into the reverse transformation. So when it comes to the reverse transformation, it's really not that bad. It's pretty much as simple as getting him to his robot mode. The only part I'd say it's a little bit more difficult because, particularly in the shoulders, it's a little bit annoying to get those things to peg in, but let's get into it. So, start off with the legs here. We already sort of transformed them, but what we're going to do is we're going to peg them together like so, and then you're just going to flip out the boosters like so. You're going to flip the toes down, flip them up like so, and then just push those back down. Very, very simple. So from here, we're going to take the cockpit and we're going to start to fold it up, and then we're going to start to accordion the entire wing section backward. Then take the arms, and you're going to want to straighten those out as well. like that. And then before we plug the cockpit, you're going to want to rotate the head all the way around, or at least I like to. I think you can leave it the other way if you'd like to. You can leave it forward. Then we're going to push this down. As you can see, there are those two little tabs right there, and then there's tabs in this section, so you're just going to want to keep these pegged together and then push those in like so, and then we can keep these rotated up like so for the time being, so we can get all this pegged. So you can see that there are two little pegs here on either, so these are on both sides, and then there are holes right there, so you're going to want to just peg that in like so. Very, very simple. Then from here, what we're going to want to do, fold the wings down, and then you're going to see there are these little sections here. You want to lift up a little bit and just push them down. And then from here, you can take these wing sections, rotate them like so, like that. Then rotate them down, and then you can see there are holes there, and then that's where these will peg into. So this peg in like this, but they don't really peg, they kind of just rest in there. And on the bottoms of the forearms, you'll notice that there is a little hole right there, and then there is a peg right there, so you're just going to want to do that. And then once you line that up, you can more easily peg the shoulders in here, or what have been the chest and the shoulders. So do the same thing here, rotate that down. You want to straighten this out, and then you just want to peg this in, and then you're going to want to squeeze everything together like that. And then if you want to, well, there goes the little winglet. That's my bad for pushing a little too hard on that. There we go. Then what I like to do is you fold these down before you peg in the shield. So we're going to grab the shield, and like I said, there's a peg hole right there, and then there's a peg there. If you want to peg that in, you can do so like this. It takes a minute to line it up, but once you line it up, it's like that. You can do this, and it unpegs the wings, which is annoying. That's why I said this doesn't like to stay in very well. It's always very loose, like it's very shakeable. Shakeably loose when you do it. And then that just came unpegged. That's annoying, but okay. Then lift those up like that. And then, like I said, you take these, and then you just plug them in on the side. So you can see that like so. Like that. Same thing here. You can see that hole right there, and then you have that little rivet on the side there. So you just peg that in like so. And ladies and gentlemen, here we have the Transformers Studio Series Transformers 1 Voyager class Sentinel Prime back in his very cool Cybertronian jet mode. And so guys, for my final and concluding thoughts on the Transformers Studio Series, Transformers 1 Voyager class Sentinel Prime, this guy's a really amazing figure. Overall, I have not too much to complain about. So getting the good out of the way, when it comes to the good, I think that the paint's very well done in vehicle mode. I also think that the vehicle mode itself looks really solid, like it's a really cool Cybertronian jet. There's not too much kibble hanging out, even though there's a little bit. In addition to that, the transformation is pretty simple. It's not frustrating. His robot mode looks absolutely amazing, almost pulled right off of the screen from the animation model. In addition to that, I also think that the transformation going back to his vehicle mode isn't too bad. Looking at the detail in the robot mode, it really solid. Like all the gold that comes out, the head sculpt is fantastic. And even the addition of the super mode's really awesome as well. The fact that they added that in as like an extra accessory was completely unnecessary, but really awesome. And his articulation in his robot mode, despite not being absolutely amazing, blow out of the park, he doesn't have wrist articulation, his hands can't open. He has, again, the standard articulation that you would expect these days, and it's really good in that respect. You can do the splits, you can get some really nice poses out of this guy, especially given how he looks. In addition, I also think that when you get him back to his jet mode, all the accessories integrations are pretty good, but that gets me into some of the bad. His shield pegging in onto his body is really annoying. Sometimes getting some things to peg onto his body in general when you're getting him to his jet mode are really annoying, and also the accessories aren't exactly the most, like, they're kind of loose overall. But overall, when it comes to this figure, I would highly recommend it, and I would give it a 9 out of 10. Very similar to Bumblebee as well. Not perfect, but not by any stretch of the imagination even bad. Just like the other figure, just like Bumblebee, I ended up picking this guy up IRL at my local Walmart. So definitely wish you guys the best of luck in hunting IRL. I'd definitely say be on the lookout right now. He might be hitting your stores, and I would definitely do that instead of maybe paying for the shipping. But if you do want to buy him online and you can't have access to those retailers as easily as I do, I'll leave links in the description to Big Bad Twist or to Amazon as well as Hasbro Pulse if you guys wish to pick this guy up that way. But again, if you do decide to hunt him IRL, wish you the best of luck in doing that. And so I think that's really it. And so I thank you guys so much for taking the time to watch this video. Please like, comment, rate, and subscribe. Share this video with your friends. Also follow me on the socials. Those will be linked in the description below. And with that, guys, once again, thank you so much for taking the time to watch this video review. And I'll catch you on the next one. Hope you guys have a wonderful day. Peace.